Hello and welcome to the ORCA pod. I stopped it up. Fail. Gladly, only 2 people are here to watch it at the moment, but I'm sure anyone watching this in the future will be laughing their asses off at my failure. Welcome to the ORCA pod, the apex predators of not getting the entrance music button right. Here we are talking about Backyard Survival One Well, episode 9. We've got a fantastic episode coming up for you. We have 2 interviews, one with Tarkan and one with, the beloved, the man that this show has loved from day dot, Marc. He brought such amazing energy and I frothed all over my interview with him. It was wonderful. So that will be coming up later. We also have TWIOLSH with Marcus Moore, who's been challenging to bring me down since we announced TWIOLSH. So that will be very fascinating to watch. Stick around for that. And joining me, as always, to cover all the ins and outs of the episode are my fantastic co-hosts. Let me welcome Jules.
Hello.
And Dani. Do I want to put Dani here?
Hi. I was going to say, I don't go in the middle.
You're in the middle for the quiz. I'm getting confused.
Dani's in the middle because she's kind of like the mediator between us. We both have our hot takes, and Dani's just like, all right, calm down, children.
That's fair.
Yeah. Did you miss
me? And I'm sure we're going to have...
Yes,
we're going to have plenty of hot takes about this episode already because we're already debating what the outcome of this season may be with only 1 episode to go.
Yeah.
I think for this episode, we could probably start at this, cut it into 2 episodes and we'll do the Tarkan interview and then the next bit and then the Marc interview. Though part of this episode, to me, does impact a lot of my thinking of the next episode. So it may be relevance to...
We'll try our best to keep them separate. We will try. We don't always do well at that.
Right. Do you want to start at the start for us for once?
Let's start at the beginning.
Let's do it.
So we've just come off the double tribal, and there's a lot of conversations about what happened. Zoe's there going, they had the chance to get Marc out. Why didn't they take him out? Like, what are you doing? And I'm like, one thing I will say, a lot of my notes this whole episode is Zoe is not an ORCA, but she's the MVP of this episode. She had so many correct reads, so many correct plays. She had a challenge win. Zoe, MVP of this episode. I know she doesn't watch the show, and she's into the final 5, so the people's champion has got there. We're coming to Perth.
Hello.
DK's wallet's taking another hit. But anyway.
We're glad Fate has once again chosen a top 5 finalist. Well done, the Wheel of Fate. The date for Canberra is still to be confirmed, announced sometime soon. But I can tell you that the October drinks will be on the something like end of October. I'll post the date because I will be in Perth for a conference. So that's when it's going to be. Make yourselves available at Backyard people.
I'll find my way there.
Date.
But anyway.
Well done, Zoe.
Well done, Zoe.
I don't know if she's ever watched the show. Well
That's twice Zoe. The wheel has got it correct.
Yes.
No pressure on the wheel for the next time. But anyway, so Zoe's saying, why didn't they get Marc out? Which I agree with. Why didn't they take Marc out? But anyway.
Well, let's backtrack on this. Mm-hmm. I think the failure of everyone in this episode who doesn't win the game, right? Whoever this is, I don't know who wins, but Jacob's going to win. But the failure of everyone else is actually not keeping Marc at this Tribal Council and possibly the one after. Because I've been thinking about the actual jury here, and I don't think Marc is the slam dunk winner that people are saying that he is. As great of a player as he's been, as big as a player, if we just analyze this jury for a moment. Right now it has Coach would never vote for Marc.
No.
DC possibly might respect the strategy. We know that Tarkan wasn't a fan of Marc, didn't send him the advantage.
We'll talk about that a lot later.
Tara would vote for him possibly.
Tara would, absolutely.
And then Kate, I don't think so. And then you can have all the oranges that sort of been wanting to get rid of him. I think they'd vote for the other orange. If it was Megan, if it was Haley, if it was Jacob, they'd just vote for the other one. And Jess and Zoe are not voting for Marc. So I actually don't think with this jury, as good as Marc's game was, he's slamming the win. And so I think for anyone that didn't actually get to the end, they probably needed to use Marc to make those moves. Because I feel that some people are pretty much drawing dead now, and this was the opportunity to change it up.
I think if we go back to something we were talking about last week, it's the whole, or whenever week we were talking about it, the whole idea of a resume. Marc has a good resume, but it's the whole resume versus story. He's got a great resume, but what's his story? He's pissed people off. He's been pretty arrogant. He is going to win the ORCA of the season. Like, I'm about ready to crown it at this point now, even though we will have an official ceremony later. But if you look at everything he's done, he's found two idols. He's done this. He's done that. And that's what all the players are focusing on. But if they took a step back and analyzed the jury like you have, I think you're absolutely correct, but they're just not seeing that. And you don't have enough time to be thinking about that.
Yeah. It may have been too soon. I think they're also worried about, the potential for a clutch immunity run, which is, hard. Everyone left there is relatively reasonably physically. Pardon? For Marc.
Like,
I think that's
Marc has been tremendously bad. Marc has been tremendously bad at the challenges.
I'm not saying that he would. I just think when you're at 6, you're in the run of the game. Like, the game is moving so fast at 6. Like, it's just like everything's moving so fast. You're not taking time to analyze the jury that's there. Like, it's just not something that you're doing right at that moment in time. And then you're kind of looking at who am I sitting next to in 2 as opposed to who's on the jury that can vote for me, right? And so in their head, I don't want him at 2. I have the numbers now. I'm going to take that shot. Because as much as he's pissed people off, he's there in 2. He's very convincing.
Sure.
He's very convincing. And they have opportunity to take him in the next few. That's absolutely reasonable. But the panic in your head of, one, the fucker can find advantages. He pulls them out of his ass at every opportunity. Or he could clutch an immunity win at 3, if they let him get that far. So it's just a terrifying thought. So I understand your thought, but I also get theirs. And it's like, no. And again, it's that 7-6-5 spot that you get those people who are like, who are super threatening.
Well, Marcus is coming in hot. Marc is a major challenge threat. That puzzle help alone prove that. Yeah, we know he's good at puzzles, although he can't solve the word puzzle in this episode. But
he's an English teacher who couldn't solve the word puzzle. He's clearly flubbing the puzzles. I would not be that worried about that. But I don't think it really matters. I think the point is Jess and Zoe, and you got a different opinion on this, Jules, but they are drawing dead.
No, I think Jess is our winner.
If the only way that anyone should let her get to the end is because she wins all the immunities. Like, it would be absurd.
How have they let her get this far?
Because they're not threatened about it, because they're not reading the jury. But all that jury are going to vote for Jess.
Yeah, they are. And I think the players in the game are just not seeing her. So I think they're falling victim to, we can get her out anytime we like.
If she goes on a run, fine. But if she doesn't, this was the opportunity to take an alliance with Tarkan and Marc and Zoe and take out the oranges. Because the great thing about making an alliance with Marc is not threatened by anyone. Marc will take anyone to the end. He doesn't care. He thinks he can beat.
That also means you can't trust him.
Beat anybody. He'll beat anybody. He doesn't care. So he's not going to be threatened by Jess's underdog story.
But you can't trust him. He will flip on you in a second. At least that's the perception. So that's the other factor of, yes, he's got all his resume, he's got these things that he's going to do. But can we trust him? Can I work with him? I don't know. He could do anything. So I think there's merit in there of getting rid of him as the unknown threat that he is.
But then you're leaving that orange 3 who've been tight the entire game just together to vote you out. Like, I don't understand the value of that.
I mean, Marc was coming after Jess, so why would she want to keep him?
Oh, Marc wanted to vote out Haley.
Did he actually ever want to vote out Haley?
Yes, based on the interview, that was actually his plan.
Well, he clearly didn't communicate that very well. And I think also, if he's coming to those people saying, I want to vote out Haley, do they believe him? Apparently not.
Possibly not.
So we're already in the second episode, which we said we would not do. Right?
It all ties back to this.
We're already there.
It all ties back to this episode. That they needed to make. To be fair, they should have got Marc in on the Megan vote.
He wouldn't have done that. He would not have gone along with the Megan vote, I don't think.
Well, I think he was worried about her idol, but we can get into that.
No, I think it was more, if he's going to take out an orange, it needs to be a threat, and it needed to be Haley.
Well,
yeah.
Megan would have been a fine move for him. He didn't need it. He could take out anyone. That's what he should have done. Okay,
so anyway, I digress. So we're coming after going back to the beginning. Zoe talking about wasted opportunity. Megan's talking about how she played the extra vote. That she said, "Oh, it might have been a waste, but oh well, I've still got an idol in my pocket," which I think I said it last week. I think that was absolutely the right play for her to play it, just in case. Like Tara did play hers. Tarkan could have it could have very easily happened. We saw Jacob was thinking about a flip, so it just gave her an extra layer of security. And I think also, if she didn't play it, she might have been spooked enough to play her an idol. So it kind of insured herself against herself. So I even though she didn't need to, I think it's still the right call for her. Tarkan's explaining why he voted for Tara. Pretty self-explanatory. We went over that. Mark's a bit upset because it's for the first time he didn't vote for the person going out. Aw, Diddums. It's not the only thing that's not going to go your way this episode. I'm going to warn you guys now, I'm in a sassy mood tonight, so just be prepared for that.
I love it. I love it. I love sassy girls.
He's also saying that the other group should have taken out Jacob or Megan. They probably should have. That's very clear. I mean, not to be too results oriented, but Zoe absolutely in particular should have made the flip against Megan. Megan says, "Jules, I love you." Aw. I'm feeling the love here.
Who drafted you, Megan? Who drafted you?
Sorry?
Who drafted you, Megan?
All right, calm down. Just relax, okay? Megan might actually be... I did come into this saying I think Jess is the winner. Megan could be a dark horse. I could see any of these 5 taking it out.
Jacob is the winner. Jacob has the strong... It's just Salvador 2.0, and he's winning this game as well.
Look, I've been saying Haley this whole time, so I'm going to change my mind a million times this show, and I'm here for it.
I haven't changed in 10 weeks. It's all Jacob.
All right, calm down.
We're calm. You're not calm. We can't say anything without you telling us to calm down. We're calm.
I didn't say calm.
No, Jules told you to
calm down. Calm down is what I say.
We're calm.
You are calm.
Calm. You're not calm.
I'm always calm. What are we talking about?
Spinning off this planet. Okay, continue.
Yeah. An interesting question from Haley. She wants Mark to go, but she doesn't want to be the one to vote him out, which I think is, again, the right call because Jules is on fire. Yes, I am. Just you wait till 12. I think when you've got a really close ally like that you know you can't beat, it's like, shit, I don't want him here, but I can't be the one to take him out because then I won't get his jury vote. So it's a conundrum.
I think Mark respects the game enough that you could still get his vote if you played the game.
Absolutely.
I think so too.
Especially if at Final Tribal you stroked his ego a bit.
Yeah, I wouldn't be worried about that if I was.
You were the biggest threat. I had to take you out.
Yeah. Would not be worried about that at all.
Yeah. And then we get into the challenge where we get the fruits of our Final 7 club reward thing. Where they
The saddest thing is that Kate was not here to see what a fucking pointless advantage this was.
The puzzle took them forever, so they were all there for ages at the same time. I thought the strategies were interesting. Was Jess moving like one tile at a time?
Seemed like it.
Haley seemed to take like half of hers, and then Jess is there like one.
I'm pretty sure one of the people who didn't have the advantage finished in front of Jess in terms of bringing the tile across. It may be Jess is horrible at balance, and that was how she just made sure she got across.
You know who I felt sorry for in this challenge? Tarkan. Getting under that fucking beam with that height on his body, trying to get under that beam. I was just like, darling, you poor thing. There's no way you get under that beam comfortably.
Yeah,
I'm sure the height helped him at some point else. I feel like the advantage was meaningless. It was only meant anything for Kate, and we finally got to the challenge, and really it was meaningless. Like, a better advantage would have been you were given 4 of the letters in place, to begin with, or something. Like, that would have been an advantage. I don't think this letter component, the challenge was too hard.
Haley coming in with it. Bruh, it was an absolutely useless advantage. Yeah, it was. Yeah.
Like, and they knew the puzzle was difficult because they had purposely... Yeah, and then they had that as a plan to tell them about it later if they were struggling too much. So that's why they said, Oh, okay, everyone. Just so you know, there's a different color because you're taking too long, and we need to get to the next shitty.
Like you got told, they're all 4-letter words, and yet all of them are still written there with one well. No, they're all 4-letter words.
Yeah.
4.
Yeah.
Because the 2 V's are always someone's always gonna spell survivor.
Yeah.
If they don't know how many words letters are.
Yeah.
Whatever. But yeah, so Jacob wins. Jacob wins, and when they get back, Tarkan, thank you, Dani. I'm horrible at limbo. Yeah.
You would be terrible at limbo.
Yeah, it's too tall. Too tall. We get back, and there's a little bit of people asking about the challenge advantage, and Haley's just like, oh yeah, we weren't allowed to tell you. And everyone just kind of accepts that. There's not much more talk about it. Megan's a little bit like, oh, they didn't tell me. And Mark's questioning it. I love Haley just being like, well, Mark's got all these bloody idols in his pocket, didn't tell me about anything. It's one thing I've kept from him.
Mark's told Haley absolutely everything.
He has. He has not kept a single thing from her.
I don't mind that not allowed to tell you. I don't know if I buy it. But the thing is, the advantage was so meaningless that, like, whatever.
It didn't matter.
Yeah.
If one of them had won in an absolute landslide, it might have been a bit different. But I think by the time they go back, they're like, whatever.
Yeah.
Didn't actually hurt or affect anybody, except for poor Kate, who wagered her entire game on this alliance, threw her beloved pinks away, and got promptly booted unceremoniously for relying on the F7 alliance. Kate.
Oh, Kate. Where are we? There's some scrambling about what's going to go on. Mark tells Haley, I'm playing my idol. It expires here. And he wants his plan. He wants Haley to get all the votes on him. So he will play the idol and vote out Tarkan. And then because of that, he will get Tarkan's legacy advantage. Really, dude? You really think you're going to get his advantage? Not a chance in hell. I think of the 6 people left, you would be number 6 on that list.
The absolute assuredness.
He was so confident.
That Mark had this entire episode that he would be given the legacy advantage. If there was any question, has to have sealed the deal on his ORCA award, because he was just so confident that Tarkan could possibly not do anything else but give it to Mark.
And then, later we see him being like, so yeah, he's going to give the legacy advantage to someone.
Just to be clear, Mark is saying here he had a very elaborate plan on this. I think he goes into it in the interview. He had a very elaborate plan. So he will talk to this himself later in the video as to what he was actually trying to do. But what I found interesting is, people didn't believe that he was going to play his idol. And he told people it expired and that we don't believe this. I'm like, he's literally telling you to put the votes on him. Like, no one's wandering around telling people to put the votes on them if they're not going to play the idol, right?
Yeah.
So it must expire. You know what I mean? Like, if it was a different plan, sure, he could be lying. But he's literally saying, vote for me.
Yeah. And I mean, Megan has a valid reason to not believe it. She's like, well, mine expires at Final 5. Why would his not?
Because there's too many idols. He's got this basic
but his is the bounty advantage. That's what he gets for the bounty. Hers is a real found idol. That's the difference. They're 2 different types of idols.
But also, just like we'll talk about for the second half, there can only be so many idols, aka Megan's new idol is clearly expired, and Jess is not digging deep enough into that. But anyway,
we'll get to that because I'm going to have to disagree with you there.
What, you think there could have been 5 idols at the final 5?
I think they might have removed a couple of them, but her little thing said 2 idols. There was no question mark or anything.
That means there's 4 idols available at the final 5.
They could have removed them though.
But what if they all found?
No, but when they didn't find them, they're all hanging out at green. Let's remove the orange and the pink ones. We know there's 2 clues.
People had found the idols during the pre-merge phase.
Well, then if they hadn't been played, they just wouldn't have put the bounty advantage in play, or wouldn't have put Megan's new idol in play.
Possibly, but there's no way they last this long. No way. Definitely is expired. Definitely.
Megan, you're here. When did your second idol expire? Unless it's a spoiler and you're not allowed to tell us. But anyway, but that brings us to Tarkan, Jess, and Zoe's plan that had a step-by-step plan on the screen, which I loved that. It was so good.
Except the plan was flawed. tremendously
The
flawed.
plan was flawed, but I love that the steps were on the screen and we saw little flashes of them walking up to vote. We saw Mark swinging his idol around. Like,
brilliant editing. Very well done.
Yeah. And look, Mark was trying to throw Hayley's name out there. There was an idea we're going to get votes on Mark. So it wasn't a terrible plan. I just think that the 4 Oranges were like, what the fuck are we doing? Let's just vote together. Let's not be idiots.
Well, Mark had a plan. He just couldn't.
Mark had a plan. Mark always has a plan. Mark has a 24-point plan when everyone else has a 2-point plan.
My major issue here is I just don't feel like I get playing safe until to a later point in the game, the end game. But this is the time where you've actually got to do something, and no one seemed really interested in doing something. And I just think that's not the way what to be doing at Final 7.
I suppose if you're one of the 4 Oranges and you make that move now, if you see Tarkan, Zoe, and Jess as a tight 3, you don't want to sacrifice one of your own and be in a 3-3 next time. So from their perspective, Mark, 24 points with 8 appendices. Yeah, that's accurate.
I don't think Tarkan and the girls as a tight alliance.
But they could be. That's the thing. You sit there and you're going through all these what if this and what if that. Mark knows in his mind that it's him, Tarkan, and Zoe is a 3. Well, maybe he's out and Jess is in. So you wouldn't run the risk of potentially going to 6 next time when you can take out one of those and then swing back. Which I think is what this is what they did.
In Good Survivor, tight alliances shouldn't exist at a Final 6 anyway. It's all about optimizing your own outcomes.
Well, for a tight group of 4 to go far together, it's an optimal outcome for one person.
Yeah, it's fine for the Oranges, but except for Mark. I actually think Mark should have been flipping here. That's really puppy.
Absolutely. And he says, this is the next point, he knows that he's on the bottom of the orange. He knows that as soon as they don't need him anymore, they will vote him. And that's exactly what happens. Spoiler alert. But anyway. So yeah, we go to Tribal. I don't really have any notes for Tribal. Not really anything interesting happens at this particular Tribal, unless either of you got any. Dani, you are the one who actually makes notes. Have you got anything there?
I have a note about Kate's dress. I thought she looked stunning. Kate, she looked very pretty.
Yeah, you would notice that.
I liked Tarkan in the voting confessional was like buy orange, bless, which was I was like, oh darling. Yeah, that was most of my notes for Trouble Girls.
Cool. So yeah, we'll get to Tarkan voted out in the 4-3, and then we don't see immediately who he gives the legacy advantage to, which I kind of liked. I like that there's a bit of mystery to it.
I do too, but also when I spent the next 20 minutes screaming at the TV, where is the legacy advantage?
Yeah, we didn't show it because otherwise all Mark's confessionals aren't as funny.
Oh,
so it was the way to do it.
Viewing. I just wanted the information badly because I like to know everything.
Yeah.
So we're going to bring in the interview with Tarkan, and we'll be back. Stay with us as we watch this interview with the Legacy Advantage King.
My second last draft pick.
Hi, Tarkan. Welcome to the ORCA pod. So good to have you here.
Good to be here. The season. I wish it was 1 week later, but.
Well, I think you're one of the more interesting people that we've had on the show because for a lot of the contestants, I think what they were trying to do, what they did do, or what they failed to do was pretty evident for the large part on the show. But you went a long way, which is obviously successful. But I can never see what your plan was to do better. Tell us about what your goal and strategies were to perhaps make it to that final part.
Yeah, I think post-merge, I wanted to play a fluid game. And that sort of meant sacrificing some pinks. I think
all the pinks?
No, not all the pinks. that wasn't part of the plan. Look, we filmed just as the new era had started, for I think maybe a 44 was coming out, I think. And I think all the new era seasons were very fluid, and the season being one well as well.
Yeah,
I sort of expected the season to be very fluid. So that was my game plan. I knew that I probably had the best connections with the most amount of people out of probably anyone in the game because I met with been on the tribe with the pinks, and I had good connections with the orange people from that green tribe. And I also got along well with the Zoe and Jess too. So I was really confident going into the merge, and I sort of thought that I could sort of sit back and know that, you know, it was a final two. I didn't want to play too big of a game too early. And then I would sort of just trust in my connections at that point, to make a move with probably one of the orange people, but it just didn't work out. I was pushing for it a lot. And, they were telling me throughout the game that they would make a move with me eventually, but it just never happened. So I think, what I could have done better is probably pushed a bit harder and, kept the people around that I knew that I trusted more, rather than just, trust in everybody essentially. And that, I think that's essentially what I could have improved.
In terms of the legacy advantage, it's something you've been branded with the entire season. There's three questions at three poignant moments I want to discuss the legacy advantage. Perhaps we'll start with right at the beginning. Did you know that Coach was going around telling everyone that you'd shared with him the advantage you found? And how did that impact your relationship with Coach?
Yeah, I think I might have heard about it a little bit on Pink Tribe, but it was confirmed by Megan on the Green Tribe that Coach was telling everybody. And then that's sort of just shook me a bit, and I didn't really understand why he did it. And because he's a very loyal guy, and I believe that. But I just didn't see that as a very loyal move. I just thought it was very random. And that did impact my relationship with him because, like, at that merge tribal council, I just didn't want to play it on him. I was probably more of an emotional decision, but I knew that everybody knew I had an advantage solely because of him. Jess, I don't think Jess told anybody. And that probably is what sunk my game in the end. But that definitely made me not want to play it on him at the merge tribal council. Like, I love him, but that was a bit.
Well, let's
wild.
start down on that, because
that
was your opportunity to play it. I get the positioning, but strategically, it may have been a good move for the Pinks, and it may have been a good move for you, in that it seems like part of the reason you went when you did is because people were worried about the fact that you'd be immune on the next vote. And we discussed that on the show a lot about when best to use something like a legacy advantage. And the first time you can is perhaps the best strategy. So do you have any regrets about perhaps playing that earlier?
Yeah, I think what probably would have been ideal would me not win that immunity and just play it for myself. But because I'd won the immunity and I was like, oh, and I just didn't want to play it on Coach because, like, I think you said this in the episode as well. Like, if I'd played that, legacy advantage on Coach, I would have been like just as big a target as anybody else in the game, and I would have gone next, or the next few votes.
Yes.
So, like, I think if I maybe played it on like Tara or Kate or something, just to get rid of it, I think that would have been a good idea. In retrospect.
Or you could have not taken the immunity. That was a choice, of course.
I know, but I just thought it would look really sus. Like, and Haley, I remember standing with Haley in the line, and she was like, before we did the challenge, and she was like, if the first person to complete the challenge doesn't take the immunity, like, that's so sus. Like, so I was just like, oh, just for optics, I'll just take the immunity, and like, I'm glad I did because I got the necklace, and I didn't win any other immunities. So. Like, it does a bucket list item. Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah. The third point, of course, is this episode you've been booted. Now, obviously, you didn't get that chance to bring it to the next point, but you did get the chance to bequeath it to somebody. Now, you came into Tribal Council and your reaction was visceral of positivity. Mark picked up on it. You obviously were saying, I gave it to Jess. Zoe's got the necklace. This is amazing. I'm going to fuck up this orange shit. But then the disappointment that Jess didn't even play it. How do you feel about that?
Yeah, I was a bit disappointed, to be honest. Because I'm like, oh, this thing has like driven my entire game. I got fucked over because of it, and it's not even getting played. But yeah, like Jess had it, and she has the choice what to do with it. And yeah, we'll see what happens in the next episode as well. But
do you wish that Mark's manifesting that you give it to him actually eventuated so that the legacy advantage, which defined your game, could have been especially relevant at this vote?
Yeah, no, that's true. That's too selfish. I think I just wanted one of the oranges to go. Like more than the legacy advantage to get played. I mean, yeah, I thought it was pretty funny that Mark thought I would give it to him too.
He was certain, and that's the ORCA energy we love from Mark. He was just absolutely certain he'd give it to him.
Love that. Yeah, no, there was like that did not cross my mind once, but
was it always going to Jess or Zoe in that circumstance?
Yeah.
Were they voted with you?
Yeah, they voted with me, and like I think the logic with the legacy advantage, and it probably wasn't the best idea to tell everybody about it, but the fact that I thought that like, especially the final 7, if like the advantage is going to be in a game regardless if I'm in the game or not. So, and I think I'm like at least as smart enough to know if if you vote for me, I'm not going to give you the advantage. Like it's going to be very hard to blindside me, pretend and me not know who voted for me, and then for me to give you that advantage. So I think it would have been smarter just to work with the known quantity that I had the advantage, and that I could be a great number for anybody that wanted to work with me at the final 6. That was my logic. But yeah, it didn't play out like that. But and it probably was a mistake telling at least Mark and Megan about it. But yeah.
Our favorite question for the Pink Tribe is who would have gone if you had gone to Tribal Council pre-merge? From speaking to all 4 of your original Pinkies, it really does seem like it would come down to what you wanted to do. What would you have wanted to do in a pre-merge Pink vote?
Yeah, I think I would have pushed for Coach to go. And then I reckon DC probably would have pushed for Tara, and then Tara pushed for DC. And then I would have tried to, calm them both down and get out Coach. I didn't want to get rid of Tara or Kate. And I, wanted to keep DC in my back pocket as well. But at that moment, I would have tried to get Coach out. Because I think I really wanted to work with the other 3.
Speaking of obviously Coach and the legacy advantage of being caught finding things, Coach wasn't the only one to catch you. Of course, DC caught you picking up rubbish, being a very conscientious environmentalist that you are. Did you have any doubts that he believed your story about that?
I don't know. I just thought it was so stupid. Just at the time, I was just like, I felt stupid for doing it.
Yeah.
And then I don't know if I actually showed him the piece of rubbish eventually. But I just thought like there was just so much happening in the game that I was just like, this is just something I don't need. And like I knew everybody knew about my other advantage, and I'm like, I don't need like another thing just like on my back with this like rubbish idol. Like it was wild. I like we got along well like after that, so I assumed that he believed me.
You must
but
be
that was just wild.
You must come across as a very genuine person when you want for people to believe something like that, because it was the truth, but it's the sort of truth that people wouldn't believe in a game of Survivor, particularly one where there's advantages everywhere in this game. Did you were affected by all these advantages? There were plenty of advantages. How did you find navigating such an advantage-heavy season? Did you anticipate that to be what you'd be playing with?
Yeah, it was a little bit it was a bit frustrating as a player, especially like hitting the merge and just like knowing about so many. Like I knew about I think most of them, but then the uncertainty of like, is there actually more? Like because we never found when I was like in the game, there was like the idols on all tribes that I think weren't found. Like it was just a lot going on with all the extra votes, all the bounty idols, my legacy advantage in the back of my head. It was a lot to manage, and I feel like I was never going to go in there and like be one of the people that focuses heaps on advantages and utilizing them. I like my strength, I think, was my social game, and I think those advantages sort of affected me. It limited the ability for me to utilize my social game as much. So yeah, like it makes it's fun. But in the game, like I didn't love the amount of shit that we had to deal with.
Well, we don't want to be too begrudging on the host, but we'll say it on the show.
No. They know.
We love Carl and Brian.
Yeah.
I had one final question that was sitting in my mind. Well, sorry, I guess this.
That's okay.
I have it now. It's back. The fate almost determined you to be the people's champion. It was the smallest sliver on the selection wheel. Ultimately, it went to Zoe. Coming down to it, had you made it one more, was Zoe won the challenge, but maybe you'd win the challenge. Who knows? Your boot, though, has resulted, I think, in it being assuredly a situation, and also, of course, you're handing off the legacy advantage to that group in case you didn't win an idol. That Zoe would make the finale, and therefore result in me having to come to Perth and cough up $1,000 for the backyard community. How proud, how excited were you when you saw Zoe was the people's champion, and proud of your part in getting her to that outcome?
Yeah, no, it was so good. Like I would have been so pissed off if it was me. I would have let like myself down, let everybody down, let Perth down. So I was like so happy that it was Zoe. I'm so happy. I'm living in Sydney now, but I think I'll travel over to Perth to party with you guys.
The date should be announced soon because I'm going to be in Perth for a conference later this year, so I'm doing it then. So it will be announced soon. It'll be in October. But dates to be confirmed soon. Assuming I'm just touching base with Carl and Brian on that. But thank you again for coming on, Tarkan, and for being such a fantastic character in a season of many great characters. I think you provided a lot of content that was really, really positive. I think you had a good mind for the game, but you had a real genuine positivity about you. I think your confessionals were particularly endearing, as well as being informative and storytelling that were very positive to watch as a viewer. So thank you very much for that.
Oh, thank you so much, EK. That means a lot. And thank you so much for all your content that you guys do. It's not easy. You contribute so much to the community, and I know it's a highlight for me, but all the players, and to see what you guys have to say every week. So yeah, we all really appreciate it.
Thank you. And we do appreciate the platitudes, but frankly, myself and Dani and Jules just love hearing the sound of our own voices, and the fact that people want to hear them too is of course, lovely, but frankly, we get it because we're orcas and everyone loves to hear people talk about them, don't they?
Exactly, don't we all? Yep. Why do you think we did all this? Yeah.
Exactly. You love to see yourself on screen. Thanks again, Tarkan, and I wish you all the best.
Yes, okay. Thank you.
I don't know. Do I love hearing the sound of my own voice? Maybe a little bit.
Yeah, all the time. All the time. Tarkan's in Sydney. Excuse me, Tarkan, we need to meet.
You have a coffee date.
Yeah, absolutely. I would love to meet you in person. That would be fantastic. So just putting it out into the LRG universe.
That's exciting. But hopefully he can still come to Perth when we have the People's Championship.
He says he's going to do it, so that's good. Okay, so anything from that, or should we just move on to the next? He's keen. Next episode.
I'll DM you.
Ooh.
All right, make sure there's photos on the ORCA page. But we move into the next part of the episode. Jess and Zoe are on the outs now. I mean, I think they've been on the outs the whole pre-merge, but the whole merge, but now they're confident they're on the outs. Megan had a fun moment where she's like, I actually felt bad about voting for Tarkan. Not anymore. She doesn't care. He voted for her, so she can vote for him. And then asshole Marc returned. Just, he was here last week and then he was gone. And then he's back because he says, here's the thing, Zoe. Here's the thing. I didn't get Meg's name at all. And she's like, I didn't get Tarkan's name. Like, bro, she doesn't know you shit. She doesn't have to tell you.
I think he's making the point.
She's trying to blindside you.
But he doesn't need to be blindsided. He wasn't the vote. I think he's saying he would have come along with the vote if he knew that was the plan.
So approach it differently. Don't just
Here's the thing.
I wasn't here last week to rant about it.
I wanted to flip. See?
So approach them to flip. Or approach them differently in the way that you speak.
Don't be an asshole about it.
God, you're a dick the last 2 episodes.
Dakota Jules is a big fan of yours, Mark. Look, I am a fan of the person Mark. He is a lovely guy. I am not a fan of player Mark. They're 2 different people.
That's the same for me.
And I would say this.
Real life CK and player CK were different people too.
Exactly.
Like, I remember that's how we came onto the ORCA pod is doing Playing with Fire, and obviously I'd met CK in person. We knew that we developed this love for each other, and then watching you play, I was like, "Fuck this guy! This guy, fucking kill him."
You would have hated CK.
Hated CK. I hated CK. I hated player CK. Loved soft, cuddly CK in person. Hate player CK. Same with Mark. Hate the player. Love the game. Playing a brilliant game. Like, great game. Hate the player.
But you don't hate him.
That was that one moment the red flag came back out again.
You don't hate him. You love to hate him. And that's what makes him so
Correct.
great.
No, this is true. That is true.
Content.
Him.
Yeah.
Yes. He provokes passion in us.
If you just love everyone, like we were doing the whole first few episodes, it gets a bit stale after a while. Like Josh says he can't wait to see Jules play. I bet she's going to be like Mark Cross with Natalie Napalm. Wow.
Who's Natalie Napalm?
From David vs. Goliath. I literally quoted Natalie, can I have your jacket before we started this podcast.
I didn't know she was called Natalie Napalm.
She's called herself Napalm Natalie. But anyway, we've digressed. So Zoe is talking confessional about how she's ready to tell Haley that Mark is throwing out her name. She's ready. She's going to throw him under the bus. I don't think it's going to matter that much, but hey, she's got a plan. Mark has a moment with the girls and he's crying and just begging to get to Final 5 just because he wants to beat Josh. No other reason. And really, there's a lot of reasons, any.
And this was part, and we talked to Mark in the interview about this, I believe. I had a long chat with him, and not all of it's recorded, so I'm not exactly sure what's in the interview and what's not. But he defined a bit of his game with this Josh stuff. It was a big part of his intro video, and he has made mention. He brought up again here, and to be frank, like I don't think finishing position matters, Mark. No. What matters is the game you played. And no offense to Josh's game, which was a solid game with a good alliance and a few snarky comments here and there. He was a very enjoyable person to watch. He wasn't doing the sort of crazy shit that Mark did. No. And so, define it. Who cares where you finish?
Yeah. I think, better placement doesn't equal better game. So.
And that's with no shade to Josh's game. And Josh was a great part of season 4. But Mark was such a huge part of this season. Now, were these real tears or a bit of crocodile tears to maybe get one more spot?
Oh, crocodile tears, for sure. I think the tears at the end were genuine.
Yes.
Because there was no one around. But I think these ones were just... Because there's a part where he's talking later and if these were real tears, he'd have his moment and then it'd be over. But he's still putting it on a little bit later. So I'm like, okay, that's fake.
My visceral reaction was like, ugh.
Yeah.
And that's what I knew though. I was like, this is not
real.
Did
it give you the ick, did it, Danny?
It really gave me the ick. I was like, gross.
Yeah. Like he had his moment.
Just
they have a hug
on the women's emotions, making him feel guilty.
Why can't men have emotions?
They can if they're real and valid. This was not real and valid. This is to guilt.
100%.
Guilt women.
Like the reason that I say
them feel bad for you.
Yeah, he has his moment, and then they go to move talking about strategy, and they talk. Megan saying, I feel more betrayed by Jess or whatever, and he's still fake crying, saying, "Oh yeah, we should vote for Jess." Like if this was a real emotion, you'd have your minute, take a breath, and then it'd be over. Because he wasn't full on sobbing, he was having a couple of tears. So yeah. Josh, you were his biggest cheerleader behind the camera, of course you were. Yeah, if they do like a blood versus water thing, I'd love to see those two back together.
Yeah, look, if they do an all-star season eventually, I'd love to have it like before they announce a cast. I'd love to be, do a podcast of who's going to be on it. I think that, I think both Josh and Mark are all-star players from the backyard community.
Absolutely. But if they both went in, then everyone knows that they're, I mean, I suppose at this point, everyone's sort of friends with everyone, but the fact that they are like real life best friends might put a bit of target on them.
They seem like the sort of best friends that are going to want to like take the other one
They
out.
would take pride in voting each other out.
Yeah, they want the scalp. Like,
yeah.
Look, they're probably not going to do it like first boot, like because you know they've got that friendship, but like down the track, they're going to be just going for each other.
Get the other before they get them. But Mark is saying that game bots have feelings too. And I'm sure you do have feelings, but these ones were not real.
No.
Anyway. Yeah, we're calling bullshit. Jess is appealing to Jacob, being like, you know, use me and Zoe to get one of them out. Because if you take us out, then, you know, what's going to happen next? Use us. We're not winning this game, but take us a little bit further. And she even starts sort of talking about she's not going to throw Zoe under the bus, but she's sort of like it's every man for themselves at this point. She's not going to try too hard to keep Zoe. And I think that has to be the move at this point, you know. There's no way that anyone is going to take both of them too far because they know that they're going to be more loyal to each other than anyone else. They are trauma bonded. Yeah. And then we get a Jacob confessional. Oh, no, Megan, sorry, I've skipped. Megan had a confessional. She's burned by Jess voting for her. And we talked about this a lot. We talked about this a lot, that through the pre-merge, we had Megan constantly talking about, I've got this alliance with Jess, a secret alliance. We're going to link back up at merge. And we didn't hear that from Jess. Now, we talked about the fact that Jess just didn't have the time to be thinking about that. But now she's gone and voted for her. I think that has made it very clear that Megan was really feeling this alliance, and Jess was like, oh, okay, cool. That's an option.
That was I discussed this with Mark again. I'm not sure if this is on the recording or not, but he very much thought it was a one-sided alliance in Megan's favor, and it was not something that Jess had given two thoughts about since that first moment.
I think if Jess's game had gone differently, it might have been more. But because Jess was just like fighting for her life the whole way through, she couldn't give any fucks about what's happening over there. She could only deal with what was happening here.
Exactly, and Megan's sitting there with all the time in the world going, I'm going to link up with Jess, and then I'll do this, I'll do that.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, Jacob's having a confessional where he's talking about his threat level is going up. You know, he's now won 2 challenges. He got the battle back. People are going to start looking at him, and then he has a thing about maybe I'll take Mark to the end. And I'm like, dude, why? Why would you do that?
Beat Mark. Anyone would beat Mark. Discuss this. The jury.
But I wouldn't be taking Mark to a final 3 because Mark will cut you.
Mark, I've been Mark, right? I'm not as good as player as Mark, but I've been Mark. And when you have the confidence that we have, you don't give a fuck who you're bringing because you can beat anyone. That's how good you are. Like, legitimately, you do not have to worry about it.
He's serving David Jennett, who votes out Mo over Sean because he wants to win unanimously instead of 9-1 or whatever the vote count was. Like, he would rather win by a bigger margin, and so he'd take out the bigger threat. Zach, I love the cheesy death montage of Megan and Jess's alliance.
So good.
Oh, it broke my heart for Megan.
Oh dear.
And then, so
Marcus,
Haley,
were you here when I went through the jury? Like, I think he gets 3 votes, and that's DC, Tara, and maybe Haley, depending on the circumstances that he voted Haley out. And I can't see him getting a single other jury member's vote. That's just my read of the jury.
Yeah. We get Haley sort of doing a confession about talking about, well, everyone's seeing Jacob as a challenge threat and everyone's seeing Mark as a strategic threat. And then she's still talking about all of her connections that she's got. And she says, if they think I don't have a story, they've got another thing coming, which to me was giving Sandra going, I don't know about that. Like that's the image that called to mind. That's winner energy.
Yeah. I felt that too on that confessional. But this is what we've been talking about Haley for a while. She somehow both considered a strong player and completely underestimated all at the same time, all the time. It's bizarre, but that is what is happening.
It's a very weird juxtaposition.
It's because she's a woman. I think that's more likely to occur for a woman. There's other women in the game. And I've seen other women play.
She's closely linked with Mark and Jacob. So there's these big guys that are doing all the big moves, that are winning all the challenges, and she's just kind of with them. But in my mind, I see her as being the one in a bit more control. But maybe that's just wishful thinking on my part because she is my winner pick and I love her.
I think she is in a lot of control, but I think we're seeing that as the viewers. I think
we've seen that. Is the jury seeing that?
Yeah, no, probably not. It's all, but she has a lot of influence on a lot of people, and particularly both Marc and Jacob. But I do appreciate that the two of them are probably getting the credit for their combined decisions.
Yeah, I agree. And then we get Marc talking again about the legacy advantage, and there's Michael from season 4. Well, I don't have a legacy advantage for you.
Killed me, slayed me. It was fantastic. I don't have that for you.
I love seeing every time production talk to them, because normally that stuff gets edited out, but I love that we're seeing who it is and what they're saying. Like it's just it's a fun little editing note. So
they started doing that in season 4. I love that little move. When they're the old players that you know and you love. I also really like that. It's a really nice touch.
Yeah, it was just very blunt. Like, sorry, I don't have anything for you, mate. Like,
yeah. So good.
And then we go to the challenge. We've got
now. I have a bone to pick with this challenge.
Oh, here we go.
Depending on how the stations were selected, if it was not a random draw, then it's absolute bullshit, particularly for Jacob, but anyone down the end, because only at one end you could see everyone's tower, and at Jacob's end you could see nothing. So if it's random draw and you get the dud tower, so be it. But if they were just assigned things, that's completely not fair. And that's how
all seemed even. So I think it would have been just random. Like if they were at different heights, then it would obviously be this is for this person. But I would assume that
it can't have been like Jacob, you go here or you go here, or even like first one to wander up. Like given the significant advantage or particular disadvantage that Jacob had, it would have not been appropriate for anything other than a random draw for selection of those booths.
And I think I'm going to give the benefit of the doubt to the production here. It's a pretty good quality production on all angles, particularly in challenges. So I dare say they would have thought of that. And I think they would have.
Just confirm. What was it? Random draw? What was it? Tell us.
Because
Zoe
used that strategy to win, and that gave her the win. It was smart.
She won by such a small margin. I don't think she would have even been able to tell.
She didn't think.
There you go, Marc saying every challenge was a random draw.
There you
go. Yeah, fair.
No, she says it in the challenge. She's like, "Oh, old mate has it." She thought she didn't know.
She didn't even know.
No, she absolutely knew she'd won.
No,
even then she
said, "Old mate."
It was 15 mil, and she was not side by side. I don't think she would have been able to tell for sure.
No, her face when they announced her the winner was pure shock. She did not know she had won.
What's whoever was standing behind Jacob, was that Megan or was that Haley?
I can't remember.
She knew because she told Jacob add one more and he didn't listen.
Megan.
Yeah, it was Megan. She's like add one more and he didn't do it.
But that could have been like just to be add one more just to be sure. No,
she could see that Zoe was about to put one on right at the end. It was very, very smart. Zoe had a great strategy. She was waiting for the last possible moment to add it, and Megan saw that was her plan, and so she told Jacob to add another. But I looked at the two thing, and I felt that it was Zoe's was bigger, just from the screen. So, but if Jacob had vision on that, he might have added another one.
Yeah.
Josh is saying how iconic it's a final 6 of 4 women and 2 gays. I'm shocked. Just outed people that we might not have even known.
Who's gay?
But we love to see the representation.
The 2 men.
I don't make any assumptions about people.
No. But Marc is also complaining that Calvin made extra sure my station was faulty each time. Oh, that's the ORCA energy that we have seen time and time again. But anyway.
Was it faulty, or was it just Marc's not particularly good at these sorts of challenges? I feel like
I think it's a skill issue.
Yeah. Marc's think about if Marc was better at the challenges, then he's too much of a threat.
If he was better at challenges, he would have been out way. Although they didn't really have a chance to get him out. He constantly had an idol.
You're going to be bad at something, right?
Yeah.
And it was that challenge.
But then it's revealed that Zoe also gets a reward. She gets to go to high tea.
Hang on. For watching live, everyone Marc thinking his tongue was cooked. Rage quit.
No, you just suck. Okay, Mark?
Why was that
And
not on
that's
camera?
okay. It's
Why was that
okay
not
not
on
to be good
camera?
on challenges.
Why was that not on camera? That would have been an amazing moment.
Oh, I needed to see that. But yes, Zoe gets a high tea. She gets to take 2 people to high tea, and she chooses Haley and Jacob. And I think she could not have chosen any better. These are the correct choices. I was very
worried for a second that she was going to take Jess, and I was like,
no, you can't take Jess. Leave Jess back at camp.
And Jess actively averted her eye. As soon as she said she could take one person, Jess went,
yep.
Jess, don't take me. Jess didn't want to be. She didn't want to be picked, and Zoe made the right move.
100%.
She needed to pick. Zoe needed to work on. We need to take out any one of the oranges, and who are the people most likely to flip? She knows it's Jacob, 100%. And then who is Jacob going to be able to bring along? Haley. So I think these are the correct choices, and it also gives Jess a chance to try and patch things up with Megan back at camp, which is what she does. But we'll get to that.
Does she patch it up? I don't think she really patched it.
Well, she tried anyway. She gave it a go. The only thing that I would have suggested is maybe you want to take Marc so we can't go looking for idols, but
look, I know
she wants to make a move on Marc, so I think don't bring him.
Plus, they found an idol, sure, but like no idol up until this point has been found at the camp, so I don't think it's particularly you need to be particularly concerned about someone finding an idol at camp. I know it happened in this episode, but I would that's not probably the biggest concern.
Yeah, no, and Jacob immediately pitches to Zoe, let's take out Jess, and she's just like, no, not doing that. And because she says, well, I'll be next.
So I consider the bottom of your 4? I don't think so.
Yeah. She's no, I'm not doing that.
Well, they need a vote for that though, anyway.
No, exactly. They don't. Yeah. And then Haley sort of says, well, you voted for Megan, that's burned some bridges. And once again, Zoe makes the correct move. She blames the guy that's not there. She goes, that was Tarkan. He was pushing Megan and we just went along with it. That's perfect play.
Mm-hmm.
I think anyway. Like,
I agree.
what's Tarkan going to say? He's on the jury. He can't say anything. So, yeah, right call there. Well done, Zoe.
It's not – you still put the name down, but I agree. You don't want it to make it like it was your plan.
Yeah. So then back at camp, Marc is off idol hunting, and they consider going to follow him, but then they're like, nah, we're good. And, Jess is talking to Megan about clearing the air, and Megan says, look, my door's not closed. I'm still willing to work with you, which is, again, correct play here. And she straight up says to Jess, look, I'm worried that you will take Zoe to the end. And Jess well, I can't sit with Zoe. We have played the exact same game. Now, do we think Jess means this, or is she taking Zoe no matter what?
No, I think she means it.
Yeah,
you think she's not going to take Zoe?
I think she might lose to Zoe.
I think.
In what world?
I don't think she loses to Zoe, but I think in her mind she is thinking, if I get, I'm going to cut Zoe, no problem. But if she is in final 3 with Zoe and anyone else, and she wins that final immunity, I don't think she will be able to physically write down Zoe's name in that scenario. So I think she thinks she's going to do that. Her heart says no.
It depends on the circumstance, but it depends who the other person is. But she's probably best Richard hatching that and throwing the challenge if she's sure she'll get taken.
It would again depends who that third person is, but yeah.
But the fact is, I think that Zoe is more liked. I'm not saying Jess is disliked. I'm saying just hearing these confessionals, everyone's like, I love Zoe. Zoe's great. Lots of love for Zoe. They have played the same game. Jess, to us, looks like the mastermind because she was pre-merge, but I don't think that has been anywhere near as evident in the post-merge, which is where the jury has actually encountered these two. Zoe has won a challenge. People seem to think that matters. And I think that Zoe, as you've just identified, is playing a very strong endgame, probably better than Jess at the moment.
I'm going to have to disagree with you on Jess beat Zoe. I think we saw Megan talking earlier about after she was ready to take Jess to the end, and then after Jess burned her, she's like, well, maybe I'll cut Jess. Maybe I'll take Zoe to the end. She's like, I think I can tell the jury that everything Zoe did was all Jess. So she's already thinking like that. I think probably a lot of other people are thinking like that. I think of the two of them, Jess gets the credit for the moves that they've made together.
I don't think that you can say, I'll just say it's all Jess, because Zoe would be on the jury and she might be on the jury saying, oh, yeah, no, vice versa. The one that's on the jury will be just this backing up their friend, depending on how the boot goes.
Yeah, but I do think that is the perception that it's all Jess. And Jess is a very, very good speaker.
I think that's our perception. I'm not sure that's the cast perception.
I think it is the cast perception, but that's just my read of them. Because of everyone they want to get out of the two of them, they're like, well, we like Zoe, but Jess is a threat. Like, that's my read of the way they speak about the two of them. They're happy for Zoe to stick around because they like her so much. Whereas they're seeing Jess as the one who's actually likable but threatening strategically.
Sure, but if Zoe's going to make some good endgame moves, it doesn't discount her.
Oh, 100%. 100%.
No.
And if Zoe can... I'm saying that would be a very tough final two for that decision to make. I don't think either of them walk away with a sweeping win. It would depend on your most compelling storyteller a final two between those two.
And look, Jess,
and the jury would want to hear any way that they can separate their games from each other. And I think Jess can do a better job of that.
If you look at this episode, you go, what did you do at the time that matters now? I won the challenge, and then I made sure I took Haley and Jacob, who are power players, so we can get them to make sure they vote out Mark. What did you do this episode, Jess? I tried to make up with Megan. It didn't really work, and then I fluffed getting an idol.
This episode, yeah, but Final Tribal, you're not talking that much detail about every move. You're talking the highlights.
True, but the end game is what matters. And they haven't done a lot before this, since they moved.
They've survived.
Yep, but I'm saying there's no moves they can call to, either of them.
The show is called Survivor, and they have survived.
I'm just saying, Zoe right now is doing more at the end game.
In this particular episode, yes. I think Zoe had a much better episode, but I think on the whole, I would say Jess. But anyway, we're talking about a final two that hasn't happened yet.
But it won't be the final two, so it doesn't really matter.
Exactly. But yes, where are we at? So they're idol hunting. Jess lifts up the bush, and Megan's like, yoink.
The snatch on Megan.
She presses the time. Get out of my way. That's fine.
Flick of an eye. Wow.
It was right. It was quite large and right in front of Jess.
I know. How she let that get taken from under her nose is beyond
Mark. Megan out here talking down her challengeability, but dives at Mac 5 for that idol. That was just didn't even have a second to realize what happened here. There was, that's an idol. Cool.
And Jess goes, "Will you give it to me?" She's like, "No."
No.
And then just to rub it in, she's like, "I got another idol too." Just
like my second idol.
Why did she do that?
Because what does it matter?
That was silly.
Why? She's going to play one. If they're both valid, she'll play one at 5 and one at 4, or she'll play them both at 5.
No, she can't. Yeah, but that's still. I wouldn't be telling someone you got 2 idols.
Why? There's one tribal left, which they both can be played.
If she doesn't need to play it, she doesn't play it here. So why not play one at Final 5, keep one a secret, and then whip it out at Final Tribal? Look at me with my idol. We have in the past criticized people for playing idols at the final time you can because it puts a bigger target on you. She is better off hanging on to that thing, not telling anyone, whipping it out at Final Tribal, and being like, look at me, I'm so good.
What's the point of whipping out an idol that you found when you found it was expired at Final Tribal?
I don't think it's expired.
The jury don't know.
I'm certain this thing is expired.
And the jury doesn't know she could. It doesn't matter. They're not going to ask for the paperwork when it's Final Tribal.
Yeah.
But I'll be like, when did you find that item?
You can only ask so many questions as a jury. You don't get to. It's not a back and forth. That tete-a-tete. Like, that's not the case.
Yeah. Marcus makes a good point here, and it supports Jules' point.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Megan is increasing her risk level, her risk profile as someone to have.
I think she was very underrated coming in, and now it's like, look at me.
It's a good point from Josh. I did think, like Megan might have had a shot at the ORCA if Mark wasn't in this season. Reflecting
I think we can give her the ORCA of this episode.
Yeah. She gets the Brommy for this one.
Well done. I think it's her first one. Mm-hmm. But then so we get another thing, and Mark is still confident. He's like, if I don't get that legacy advantage soon, then I know it's gone to Zoe. I know for a fact Zoe's got it.
Wrong.
Yeah. And then we get a little montage of literally every name being thrown out. Oh, we should vote Jess. We should vote Mark. We should vote Haley. Like every name is thrown out. And it's like little one sentence clips everywhere. But the only really significant thing there is that Jess tells Zoe and Jacob, Megan's got 2 idols, just by the by. So this is why you don't tell her that, because it gets out. And then Jacob starts thinking, oh, Megan was the best person we take to the end. Not anymore.
Yeah, 2 idols.
And then we get Jess receiving the legacy advantage.
In such an advantage-heavy season, though, would you as a jury member get particularly excited about some other idol someone had? Like, there's just so much.
This is the first idol that was actually found.
I know. But, like, there's just so much stuff. Like, who didn't have an advantage?
Mark got one gifted to him. He got another that he picked from a table. Megan's, the clue was gifted to her. This is the first one that someone's actually gone looking for and found. And she's got evidence of that. She was
found with the clue. It was found with a clue that was given to her.
It was found with a clue, but it was still hard to find. Like her first clue was, here's where it is. Go get it. A bunch of people had the same clue and couldn't find it.
I'm saying I'm not sure how in a season this advantage heavy, like the Marianne move is as impactful as it might be in another season.
I still think it's impressive to you want the shock value, because if people are sitting there undecided at Final Tribal, especially with the 2 people, if you're back and forth between 2 and then you find out something you didn't already know, oh, okay, maybe that's enough to swing me over to vote for Megan.
The thing though that I felt with advantages on this tribal council, and I think it's an important point to discuss, Jess's decision to not play the legacy advantage, I think, is an incredibly poor decision.
She's got balls. Or she's got ovaries. She's got massive ovaries to not play that.
So she's going to say, I had faith that the vote wasn't on me, I suppose. Like that's what she can say. I was that certain of my position in the game, I didn't need to play this advantage. But I feel like, number one, the person who just gave that to you wants to be relevant and wants their story to be relevant. And for Tarkan and how excited he was to see the impact he was going to have on the game once he left the game, to then see it not even be played, even if she's not going to play it, I think the move is, I've got the legacy advantage, right? Just pull it out at tribal, but don't play it, because then you can say that in a way drove the Marc outcome, right? Marc getting booted.
Could it be a case of she was concerned it might trigger other advantages to come out? Because if Marc is being blindsided here, which I think is what she thinks is happening, if he thinks the votes are on her, because he's the idol king, they're all seeing him as the guy that finds 1 million idols. So what if she plays it and that triggers him to play his idol? That's the only thing I'm thinking that might have been her reasoning.
Well, who cares? She's safe. Zoe's safe. Who cares? Yeah.
But she wants Marc out.
Sure, but I don't know. I feel like this is a misplay. I feel like if she gets to final tribals, like, hey, I had the legacy advantage, I don't think that has much impact. They're all going to know it anyway, because Tarkan will tell them that he gave it to them, so it's not going to be a shock value. I just feel that revealing that she was bequeathed it, whether she plays it or not here, would have given her a more credit.
And Rosie makes the exact point here that you never know for sure if you're safe and it's worthless after that vote. Yeah, I still think she absolutely should have played it. I'm just trying to play devil's advocate and think about what's her reasoning for not playing it. And that's the only thing I can think of.
Because she knows Megan has 2 idols here, so she doesn't know what the other 3 are doing. Like, whether that the vote goes the way it does. She thinks like maybe Megan plays one on Marc, which is what he's trying to get her to happen. And then they re-vote. And then she's up again because she hasn't played a legacy. Which you can play again, but like it just makes it messy.
Yeah. Well, I don't know. I don't know if you can play it on a revote. You have to play it the first time.
No, if all the votes get nullified, you can't then play. But I think if idols get played for Marc, she's pulling it out regardless.
The thing is,
that's why she didn't, because she didn't want an idol to be.
That's what I'm saying as well.
Yeah. Thanks, Marcus. I'll go soft on you tonight. Thanks for agreeing with me. Do we ever we've got this interview with Mark? It is a longer interview, surprisingly, but it's a good interview. Should we get into that, or do you have anything more final to talk about for the episode?
Just loving that we see Mark crying. This time, I think he's legit tears, and Amy gives him a hug, which I would just love to see.
Bless.
Let's do a final 2 prediction. We're all here.
Wait, do we want to update the draft first and foremost? I believe a while ago I said Dani was going to run away.
Episode. Like it's going to be long.
Yeah. I did say that I think that Dani's out, but I think now I might be wrong about that. So going into the finale, we have the People's Champion still alive. Dani has 2 people left. CK and I have 1, but I have Hayley. So I'm going to return. I've done full circle. Hayley's still the winner of the season. But going into it
next.
I have Jacob the winner.
CK, you are on 28 with 1 player left. I am on 35 with 1 player left. Dani, you are on 24, but with 2 players left. And I would be shocked if you don't have someone in the final tribal. I think definitely one of those 2 girls are getting there, and I wouldn't be surprised if it's both of them. So Dani might be going 2 for 2 on draft wins. So
Joey Megan. Sorry.
Joey Megan.
Who's Joey? Jacob Megan is the final.
Didn't you want Jacob and Zoe?
Well, that was what I was manifesting. Because that gives me a great outcome. But my actual prediction is Jacob Megan.
Okay. And who wins?
Jacob, as I've been saying since about episode 2.
Mm-hmm.
What about you, Dani? What's your prediction?
I'm just going to back my girls. Give me Jess and Megan. Give me my top 2, final 2. Let's
who's
go.
Winning?
Huh?
Who's winning between the 2 of them? Jess wins? Okay.
I'm going to back my girl, Hayley. And I think we've seen a lot of foreshadow, her talking about how she wants to work with Zoe. Zoe wants to work with Hayley. So I think I'm going to see a Hayley and Zoe final 2 with Hayley taking it out. I did say at the beginning of this episode, I think Jess is our winner, but I've come full circle and I'm back on the Hayley train. Get us into the Hayley train. Get it?
I'm not retconning anything, Mark. I always said I wanted it to be Jacob and Zoe. That's what I was manifesting so I could win the bet. But I've never actually thought that Zoe was making the final 2. It's what I want to happen.
This was me last season saying that it was I needed Pauline to beat Eden so that I could win.
All right. We're going to go to the Mark interview. Then we will come back for 12.
Back in an hour.
It's 25 minutes, okay? But it's a good 25 minutes.
Yeah.
Hi, Mark. Welcome to the ORCA pod. Great to have you on.
Thanks for having me, CK. It feels so good to be at home with the other orcas.
Well, it's not official yet. We have to have a vote, but I think you'd be hard-pressed to lose it. But, we'll have to see. Democracy has to do its thing. You were so obsessed with your performance and benchmarking against your best friend, Josh. You referenced it in your intro video. You referenced it on the way out. And, of course, begged the fellow players to keep you longer. But, with no offense to Josh, you played such a strong game here. Were you not of the view at the time that the things you were doing were a next level play? He played a very solid game, but he wasn't doing the things that you were doing. Do you think you have defeated your best friend in terms of who's the bigger player?
Well, I think perspective is everything. Like, I'm not the person I was in 2023 when I played this game. And going in, you saw on the video, I was so obsessed with voting correctly. I was so obsessed with doing everything right. I was so obsessed with getting to that 5th spot and beating him or doing as well as he did. But looking back, it's not about where you finish. It's what you do with the time you were on there for. And I definitely think that I maximized efficiency per episode with what I managed to get done in the time I was on.
There's like an Andrew reference in there with the efficiency. I don't know if that was
don't. I had to go in like avoiding the Andrew strat of like chewing up the air in every conversation because it is a bit of a natural reflex for me. So putting some distance between Andrew and myself.
Some of the moves that you made on this season are some of the biggest we've seen in any of the LRGs.
Thank you.
They're comparatively large to what you see in the real deal. And what's most impressive about them in the LRGs is the time it takes to formulate a strategy, a lie, a deception that you're going to build around an item, an advantage. And to make it convincing, you need time to work that through. You seem to be able to pull these out effectively in the moment. Did you realize you were so good at creating false narratives in such a pressure cooker situation?
Well, I am categorically a psychopath, so it comes second nature to me. Look, I went into this knowing what my skill set is. I'm an English teacher by trade, crafting narratives, teaching people persuasion. It's the bread and butter of what I do. So I kind of put my money where my mouth was in this, and I used every trick in the book in order to sell my lies. Um, I never had to lie too hard. Like everything I'd lied was tied to a truth or a fact. So if I ever got caught up in something, I could bring it back to a piece of evidence that was tangible. Like the note, for example, it was pretty hard evidence that yes, I destroyed it, it doesn't exist, but it protects you and it tracks back to a truth in the game that all three of us made it there. So by basing things in an element of truth and obfuscating the last 30%, I kind of only told lies in that last 30%. And I think that was the magic of how I spun things.
Do you think you would have attempted such bold strategies in a game which had less advantages, or did the having so many advantages in the game really enable you to take on that sort of approach?
Having an advantage added in every round kind of gave me a bit more freedom. It's hard to say if I would have tried that. To me, when I made that move at Merge, it wasn't about the number of advantages in the game. It was me reading the cast and the people I was with. Um, a lot of people couldn't wrap their head around how extra votes work, how shot in the dark worked. So I kind of knew that I had something no one had ever seen before. The words bounty idol had never been printed on a parchment before. So it was less about the number of advantages in the game and more about the accurate read I had on the other people that I was with.
Was it thought about overnight where you were sleeping in your tent, or was it in the moment that you came up with the, I feel, cornerstone of that move, of that deception, calling it the bounty hunter advantage or bounty hunter idol? A naming convention that makes sense and ties it all together, I think, as a way of convincing people that it's accurate more than not because it's so perfect.
I didn't sleep. That's the truth of it. I stayed awake in my swag, which was on a hill, sleeping on the wrong direction of it. It was not a great moment. Yeah, no, I came up with it the night before, but it wasn't necessarily the move that I was going to play. It really was, here's the thing. I thought about it and the purpose of this move was Jiren had 6 players, we had 4, and there was 2 in the middle. And I knew that my 4 would want to keep me pretty far into the game. But as things were going, and once that bounty advantage came on the table, that's when I knew I had to go whole hog with this thing because I was looking for the next tool to make the move against Booneroo. And when I was offered that, I already had this plan in the back of my mind and it was well rehearsed, it was practiced, but it only came out once I picked up that bounty advantage from the table at the challenge.
So you might not have done it had you not already then scored an additional advantage.
Well, no one knew that the idol had expired. So I already had a potential idol that I could bluff. This basically brought me an extra 2 rounds. It brought my alliance further into the game, into the seat of power. And then I had a second idol to back it off. So yeah, I can't even say if I was or wasn't going to do it. It was just the perfect storm of conditions. And I felt in the moment like I cooked up this perfect plan. And at the end of the day, like I honestly heard Kyle and Brian say the words final 2. And I went, you're not making it there. There is no way that you can contain the beast that long that anyone's going to bring you through a final immunity challenge. So I just kind of went, screw it. Let's just be an icon, be a legend. Let's just do what you can do. So it was honestly like more for entertainment than anything else, but I came up with it and I knew I could sell it.
It was incredibly entertaining. I did challenge whether you were flying too close to the sun with the 2 rounds which you could use your super idol. Did you think that was a push, or were you like, what the hell? I'll just go for it.
I just felt like this kind of metagamed it here, right? Like the timing in these rounds is so narrow. And we were doing challenge, confessional, back to camp, back to confessional to challenge. So there were times when we have 10, 15 minutes at camp, and there's that many things that I kind of felt like no one was going to be willing to push the envelope to really find out. And because I had the ace in my sleeve about having destroyed the parchment to protect a very well-liked player in Zoe and Tara, who also had connections, I kind of just felt like I can do it. Like, why not? Um, and what's the worst thing that's going to happen? If people are doubting me, it was going to get back to me. Here's the thing. We had that one world twist at the start of the game, and information in those first few rounds at Merge was running like tap water. It was everyone was telling everyone everything because everyone felt connected because of that first initial round.
Yeah.
So I knew that if I got my way at Merge, I was getting an idol. And if things got really dicey, I could have played that if I had to.
Going back to the first round where you took your first idol by piling all the votes on poor Tommy.
Let's just pour one out for Tommy while we're here.
As a teacher of young minds yourself, did you feel any sadness in destroying this poor young man's dreams so you could get an idol?
This came up at school today. I did murder the high school age child. I don't know. Again, it just kind of felt poetic, right? Like it just had to happen. I do question if Coach was on my parchment, would I have driven the vote towards Coach? For me, it was more the fact that Tommy was on my parchment. He was the easiest name that I could throw out there. Coach was the other one I kind of wanted gone early just because him and I were never going to be on the same page in this game. But I felt like Coach, he was too pleasing in round one to be the target. And I thought I was going to cop a target for doing that. So poor Tommy, he was a victim of circumstance and nothing else really.
How did you feel though? Look, it didn't matter, obviously, in such a big tribal, but to get a vote, how did you feel about that? And then equally, when Altus simply confessed to you that it was his vote, how are you reading that situation as such a big player?
Okay, so that vote was terrifying. I think you guys clocked it on the pod earlier that like I kind of had everyone going along with my plan really early into that scramble. And we thought that Hourglass was just done. We thought it was like going to be a quick 5-minute vote, push it. It just kept going and kept going. And I knew that every minute that Sand was ticking, it was more likely the votes were going to go full circle on me because it's obvious. There's an idol in play. Marc's pushing the vote. Why not flip it on Marc? So that plan to come for me got leaked by Tara. And I knew that it was being pushed by Altus. So as soon as my name came up, I knew it was him. There was no question in my mind.
Okay.
I expected it. I did it. You saw me in that tribal council. I was shitting bricks. I'm surprised it was only 2. Like I honestly thought that I'd cooked this and I was done. And I had Josh filming the tribal council and the Birak 4 around him just absolutely open mouth as those first 2 votes were read. And I nearly cried. The fact that I held my tears until like final 6 is something else.
Yeah. Everyone gets emotional when they get booted, if you care. So I don't think the tears at the end. But yes, obviously, no one wants to do the first boot, and that wouldn't have been
It should have happened though. Like I really should have been the first boot. Like the way that I didn't ask for that advantage, but a player like me getting it, as you guys pointed out, it was the Goldilocks thing. I was always going to be the one to run to the honeypot, and yeah, like why would I got away with that?
I think what's interesting about that, though, being your first time playing, I think Tara, in her first time playing, would have gone for it too. She's just learned a lot from playing once before to go, you know what, I'll just chill on this. And first time, you just want to go big and go hard because then there's advantages and let's do it. How did you feel watching it back when you're in the orange tribe and you're in a great position with Haley and with Jacob and even with Megan, and then Haley and Jacob start talking about maybe we should keep Altus and boot Mark. Now, this never eventuated because you never went to tribal. But how did you feel watching that in the real time, hearing that even earlier on they were thinking about a switch out on you?
I was, I don't know if people will believe me on this, but like I was hyper aware of it, right? It felt like cat and mouse the whole time I was at that tribe. I felt like the way it played out in the edit was pretty accurate. Like I was onside and then I became offside. And I was aware that if we got to that tribal around episode 4, I had a feeling that they were going to target me. And I would have played the idol, but I would have shot at Haley, Megan, or Jacob. So there's no point shooting at Altus in that point. So I'm not shocked or anything. Like I knew it was happening. So does that kind of answer it? Like
Yeah. And by that time, you would have realized that Altus was not a threat and just high and had no idea what was really going on.
It was weird. Like I really wasn't gunning for Altus, but I did want to keep him on the out because I realized that I was never going to be able to put Jacob or Megan on the bottom, but you could put Altus on the bottom. So it wasn't like aggression on him or anything. It was just this is the way the tribe dynamic is moving. And once we avoided tribal for so long, I was like, well, the only way I'm going to have any value to this tribe is if I bring them value. So I knew I could keep Haley on side by giving her an extra vote. Her alliance was more loyal, was more valuable than an advantage. So I don't know. I bought my favor in other ways.
Do you have any regrets as to the final couple of rounds? I'm sure you've thought about all the different things you could have done differently to maybe get 1 or 2 rounds further. I do appreciate that you were up against it, that no one probably wanted to take you to the end. Is there something that you think you've thought about that maybe would have been a more optimal way to play your final rounds?
All right. I played like a huge game and it seems like I left nothing on the table. But there was one move I left on the table, and it's so uncharacteristic because it came out of loyalty to another player, which is obviously something that I went into the game never thinking I'd do. I lost control at Tarkan's vote. Tarkan was never meant to go home at 7. That was not how I was playing that round. So it seems like I was kind of gunning for Haley, but in reality, I wanted to use the 7 to flip the numbers against Bunaroo and make a 4 with Zoe, Tarkan, and Jess, right? Megan has an idol. Jacob had immunity. I needed to know whether they were voting because if they put their votes on Megan and Megan plays her idol, and then I play my idol on Tarkan and it goes to a revote, everyone's at 0. I get piled on.
Yeah.
My plan at that vote was to play my idol on Tarkan by driving all the Bunaroo votes on him. I wanted them 3 to put their votes on Haley, and then I can place a rogue vote anywhere else, play the idol on Tarkan, and do the Natalie Anderson turn around to Bunaroo. Did you vote for who I told you to vote for? And then when they say yes, offer Tarkan my idol in exchange for his legacy advantage.
Yeah.
That was the move.
Was the legacy advantage transferable?
It was.
It was interesting. Okay.
So
had you confirmed that with production?
I hadn't had the chance to confirm it, but I know that was a potential like risk in that plan. I spent that entire tribal council trying to whisper in Jess's ear, what can I do? I want to be 4th in your alliance of 4. I want to be the bottom of your totem pole. And I got buffed array the whole time. So I had to play my idol on myself, thinking that maybe they're Hail Marying, throwing votes at me, thinking that I won't play it. And like I was feeling like hyper risk aware at that point, that like I didn't want my legacy to crumble down by misplaying that and getting booted off the back of that move. But we've talked about it post game at Tarkan, and he reckons he would have taken that deal. It's guaranteed safety for possible safety. And that's how I was trying to get through that extra round. I really don't see any other way getting past 5. Like I think taking me out at 5 is the optimal play for pretty much everyone. Yeah. But that could have been like the one move I had to get past that round where I got really bullied at 6. Like the one person that wanted to work with me was Haley, and she was snatched away by Zoe at a reward. the two girls who I could have flipped the numbers on because they voted against us were either immune through immunity or had a legacy. And then I was separated from the one person I could strategize with. So yeah, like the only path I really see forward is if that gamble played off. But you know, hindsight is a hell of a beast with this type of game, and you can't say what if for everything. The game played out how it did, and I'm pretty happy with every opportunity I had anyway.
I do love this strategy that you're thinking about implementing. I think it could have been effective, but I think the one downfall that you probably had, and this probably leads to maybe the actual, like, you can't regret not doing a move like that, because I don't think you actually could have pulled it off as smart as it is. Because I don't think the girls would have gone with you, particularly Jess, probably because of the prior episode, which you've expressed some regret about in the chat.
Yeah, that was not my best moment. Not happy with how I played that round. If anything, I find that harder to watch back than any other moment in the game, because it fundamentally goes against like a lot of moments in Survivor that I've had issue with, right? So it wasn't great. And I've apologized to both of those girls for that. But you're right, like as I said, I don't, even if my move played off at 7, I don't see myself getting any further in the game, because at that point I cut ties with anyone who wanted to potentially work with me. So while my game was fun and while my game had a lot of highs, it definitely wasn't a perfect game.
It was an incredibly strong game and absolutely entertaining to watch. You know, we certainly on the ORCA pod, but I think anyone who enjoys this community and these series really love watching people that bring it, that they're entertaining, that they're making moves, they're being interesting. And it's very hard to do that, because even more and more with these games, once upon a time, Brian and Kyle would have to get their mates to play because that's who played the game. And now, for every season they would do, or anyone else does, they get 40 to 50 plus, even more on occasion, applicants. And so, for a lot of people, this is actually their only shot. So there is a desire to play safe. You want to be in it longer. You want the experience. You want to see the whole game. You want to be relevant, and you often aren't super relevant if you get booted early. So with all those in mind, I think those things would apply extra to you, that you could go in there and not play safe, even though you might feel that's a better strategy. You came to be a character who performed and entertained on our screen while also pulling off a number of incredibly interesting moves. It was just wonderful to watch you play.
Thank you. To anyone watching who's thinking of applying, and if you do get that Hail Mary shot of playing, play big. Like at the end of the day, you're playing for another hour out in the bush. Like there's not that much to lose, and you'll have a greater time. The regrets is what kills you after these games, right? So put it all out there. It doesn't mean you have to do what I did, but if you see an opportunity, take it, because this is the only one you're going to get.
And when it comes to regrets, prior coming in this season, I think what would have been a regret for you, and it was super fun finding this out when we did TWIOLSH 1 or 2 weeks ago, that when they had letters from home in the season 4 of Backyard, and everyone but 2 people purchased their letters. And I looked into that for quite a lot of detail last week, because I thought it could be the TWIOLSH question, who doesn't buy a letter? So I really analyzed that, and I saw that Josh didn't buy his letter. So it was super fun then to find out in the chat last week that letter was actually from you, Mark.
It was.
So, and I'm sure you felt incredibly miffed that he didn't spend $50 on your letter. He also wasted it, didn't get the advantage. Is this the, yeah. Anyway, do you want to give any content of what that letter was now for
Josh had his baby yogurt. That was a higher priority. I need to bring it up. Spoiler for people, but the letter is written in like twink English, so there's a lot of paraphrasing that needs to be done for it to be legible.
It doesn't have to be the whole thing. You can paraphrase it, but we can finally hear your beautiful words you would have written to Josh had he actually cared about 50 fake dollars about your friendship. No,
all right, so Josh, I'll get it from paragraph 3. The biggest gift you ever given me was igniting my obsession with Survivor back when we first became besties. Watching Micronesia, you exposed me to 2 key things, which has forever shaped the way that I view Survivor. The first and most obvious is poverty. who I honestly don't even see as a Survivor contestant anymore, but rather a paragon of feminism. And the second being how badly Survivor represents people like us. I hope you are doing skyscraper John Hugo proud out there and can bring home the grand prize of $400 and a voucher for the old pub that he used to work at back to Nollamara.
That's lovely. Thank you very much for that, sharing that. I'm sure Josh is very excited to hear those words at last, and perhaps he can pay you $50 for them, or pay me $50. Either or, for delivering that outcome.
Speaking of that, the finale, that was the People's Champion, right?
Yeah, Zoe is the People's Champion, which means there will be ORCA drinks on me. This was also discussed in the Tarkan interview, so now
we love it.
And
Josh can get us around off the back of that, because I'm sure he'll be there.
It's only once my money expires, because there'll be $1,000 of my wing wangs has to go through first, thanks to Zoe and the wheel of fate choosing her as your champion, people. It will be in October, and I look forward to it very much.
Speaking of regrets, CK, we have to go back to the draft. I was in the live chat and you were saying, guys, we've got to pick the people that are in this chat. They're going to feel bad. Round 5, CK. Pick 15 out of 16. Talk to me about that.
You must have been fucking losing your mind. Like, I can now, knowing the player you are, the person you are, you must have been, what the fuck? Anyway, honestly, you were so amazing, and I'm so glad that I had you on my team. It was so, I don't care about winning so much as I want to be rooting for the people that are my team. And I just didn't see this person who absolutely blew up the awesomeness of this season on your intro vid. I didn't see it. It was just it was probably a bit too obsessed, and maybe with Josh, and maybe that's what they showed us. But once you got on the show, I don't care about how you are to Josh. I care about how you are as a person.
Yeah, I've got a bit to say about this. I'm gonna do a refill while I do it. So my first interview on day one was with Casper and David from Redemption / Season 1. And I think the first question I got asked was about Josh. And I just pulled the plug on that and said, this is my game, not Josh's. I will speak about Josh if I need to. So, like, obviously that became a bit of my pre-game narrative, but I didn't want my experience to be shaped around someone else. I pulled it out of the bag when it became narratively appropriate, but yeah, I fully wanted to be my own person, and I think it was fun showing like someone super obsessed and like with strategy, but not getting that kind of like dynamic color that I actually have. Like, it was a good reveal, I feel.
Yeah, and I'm not saying you certainly weren't defined by Josh at all. It's just that's the way the video was, and that's probably why you got drafted there. But I'm so glad I picked you over Altus. No offense, Altus. I'm so glad you were on my team, particularly as some of my other picks were such duds. Though I do feel I have the winner, and I've felt that for a long time.
Not Tommy. Tommy's no dud. We love Tommy. Tommy's a king.
Tommy, I was affected by having met him in real life. You know, sometimes that can affect your decisions. Thank you again. I'm sure this won't be the last time we speak to you. And I'm looking forward to seeing how the season plays out. But thank you for everything you brought to this season. We love seeing people come out and play big and play hard. And, you know, that's what we love on the ORCA pod. So thank you.
All right. Thank you very much. I'm getting the sense it's my final word. So I'll leave you guys with this. Treat people with kindness. That's the biggest takeaway I have from this crazy social experiment. Kindness goes a long way, and I'm so grateful for having the opportunity and getting to play with the amazing cast of Season 5.
Well, that was some fantastic words from a very long interview with Marc. Before we get to TWIOLSH, I have a special guest to bring on to the ORCA pod who's going to bring a special surprise for Marc. So without further ado, let me welcome the one of the stars of Backyard 4, the aforementioned many times, Josh. Welcome to the show, Josh. You muted.
Hi. Yeah, I just thought I'd make an appearance, you know, just to tarnish Marc even more. But no, jokes. We love Marc. He is an absolute legend. Like, it was such an honor to watch him play and do himself proud and do me proud. Like, yeah, legend.
And we've got a special surprise. I've asked Josh to come on and to complete this circle. He has written a loved one's letter to Marc to complete the loved one's circle of letters between the two of them.
Okay, so here. Okay, so dear Marc, I'm writing this love letter to you, either with the hope and well wishes of Michael to the remaining Birac 4 when he was voted out, or the venom and vengeful curse of Holly towards the Birac 4 plus Ken. If you're reading this, that means one of two things. You either made the auction in your season or you're sitting at Ponderosa. Either one I'm happy with. I'm torn between wanting you to slay the season and be the next 5th place Rob Goddess and take after my iconic placement, or have you flop massively so that you join the forgotten potential lost orcas of Backyard Survivor past, like the aggressive Joff from season 3, Rage Quit Matt from season 1, or a redacted Backyard alumni future One Nation candidate in the upcoming WA election. I have faith that you will become an icon, a legend, and the moment, and I hope the cast do not agree that if you're sitting up there in the final 3, that the only thing they would vote to give you is a handful of antidepressants like our salty queen Corinne to sugar. My final wish is that one day we can face off in another season, be it a Backyard Redemption Island or potential All-Stars. May the best orca win, and you better not beat my 5th place, or I know I'll never hear the end of it. That's it.
Thanks, Josh. Amazing. Thanks for coming on and joining us. I'm sure you can go now DM Marc about that special moment you just had. Thank you.
He's going to be mad.
Okay, thank you that. And now we'll bring back my fantastic co-host for TWIOLSH. A bit of surprise. You guys didn't know I'd organize that.
I was like, what surprise has he done for us this time? And no, it's for his little boy Marc.
I thought it was a good circle.
Sugar was just everything I needed it to be.
Fantastic. It was beautiful.
Everyone loved it. All right. So without further ado, it's been a long episode. It's time for TWIOLSH. Now, this particular person, when we announced the concept of TWIOLSH, was incredibly confident that he could take me out. I think he sent a picture of himself flexing or something to Dani from memory, or if it was just pointing to his brain. I can't remember which. Maybe it was like a both thing, like that. I don't know. But I'm not feeling particularly hot about this episode, to be honest. I have not started the level I have, but that's no excuse. Let's bring him in. I'll be taking Dani out, sadly, and bringing in Marcus, who's coming to take me on. Welcome, Marcus.
Let's go. Yeah, look, my confidence has gone down and down as I've been away from it. But how are you, CK? I'm excited to see your beautiful face. And Jules, amazing.
I was going to say, I'm the one you need to suck up to, all right? I wrote the questions.
Yeah. I'm firstly just representing Malviva. Shout out Malcolm from season 2. I'm repping Melbourne and I think
all the buffs.
Amber. And I'm repping Brizzy as well. Shout out Brisbane. And
you have been a very strong member of crews, particularly for the last couple of years. I think you've had a real impact on a lot of seasons. That's where many players know you from. So thank you for the efforts you put in to crewing all these seasons. But now let's get to the challenge to see how this goes. Boom.
All right. As always, I will go over the rules. You will get a question. If you choose to answer it straight up, you get 2 points. But if you get it wrong, CK can steal. If you choose to hear the multiple choice option, CK cannot steal. But if you get it right, you'll only get 1 point. As usual, the backyard questions are mandatory. So would you like to start with season 1, 2, 3, or 4?
Let's start with season 1. Fuck it.
Season 1. So episode 9 of Backyard 1 was the finale. At Final Tribal Council, who was the last juror to ask a question?
trying to think of who was even there. I haven't even watched. I'll be honest. Danny's low key Dakota, who was on last episode, reminded me that it was tonight. So I haven't done any form of watching. But
Good.
so I'm trying to think of season 1 people. I'm gonna throw a. I remember Reem's question, but that would not be the last question because I remember people asking after him.
You have the option for multiple choice if you're not sure.
I'm gonna go. I don't even know. I don't know. I literally know her face. I think her name is Rachel.
That's correct.
Yes.
Wow.
Oh,
Pulled that out of your ass, but well done. You got that right.
The blonde, the brown-haired one. Yeah. Okay, cool. Oh my god.
Challenge beast. Yeah. All right. Which season would
Sorry,
you like?
Danny. I should have studied.
All right. So 2, 3, or 4 for CK.
Let's do 4.
Oh, I'm sorry, CK.
Yes.
During tribal council of this episode, the current temperature was displayed on the screen and mentioned by Brian. What was the temperature?
Multiple choice.
34, 35, 36, or 37?
36.
Correct.
Damn it.
Well done.
And you get a single point though.
Yeah. All right, Marcus, 2 or 3 for you?
I watched 3 most recently in December, so we'll go with 3.
Okay. After Zach was voted out, he was asked who he was rooting for. He gave a very diplomatic answer and said he was open to everyone, but then he did mention one person in particular who he likes. Who was that?
I don't know. I'm trying to think. So this would have been episode 9. This wasn't the finale, so that means it probably would have been like Zach went. So that's the one. That's the double vote episode. Oh shit. Let's do multiple choice because why not?
Was it Andrew, Hal, Jake, or Samara?
I'll go with Hal.
That is incorrect. CK, do you know the answer?
I don't, but I think from those options it might have been Samara.
He said Jake.
Oh,
really?
damn, it was Jake or Hal I was going with, damn it. But hey, CK got it wrong. Well taken.
Backyard 2. So this was also the finale. At the beginning of the episode, we got the big previously on, and we got like a little bit of a background package from each of the members, each of the finale members. Who was the first person to get their little package?
Oh my god! Right. These are not the questions that I would ask. So
Come on, CK. Put it on the line. Let's go.
So I tried to go outside of
choice. Have a shot.
Well, I don't know. The multiple, there's no value in the multiple choice because there's 5 people, right? So
it stops Marcus from stealing.
Yeah.
Have a go, CK. Have a go.
I'll give him the shot. Right. So obviously, I won't tell the names in case Marcus doesn't know all the names. So I do like to work through all the names, but that's not. I won't give him that advantage, but I will, in my own head, make a decision of who got the package first, and I'm going to go that they foreshadowed the outcome as editors like to do and say it was Jay.
Incorrect. Marcus, steal.
I don't remember all the names, I'll be honest. I know that we got my king, robbed goddess, Stephen. We got Keegan, obviously. And I'm trying to remember the rest. My thought process is it's not one of them. It's not one of them two. I feel like they would have showed them in the middle. I think Keegan was down the end, and because I don't know the other names, I'm just going to guess Stephen.
It was ORCA of the season, Jess.
Yeah,
Jess! Oh, how did I not think of Jess? That's so poor.
What my other guess?
All right, Marcus, you get to choose from any other season. Bearing in mind, not Melbourne 1 and Brisbane doesn't have an episode 9.
Okay, well, I did it.
It's 2-1 Marcus's way. Is that correct?
Correct.
Ooh. Okay, so that means for my question, I just have to get a multiple choice right and I win, or unless he gets the 2 right.
No,
Well,
you get multiple
take
choice.
a tie. I'll take a tie. I'm gonna go with the one that I did the most study for, as in I did a whole podcast on it. I'm gonna do Canberra, the most recent Canberra.
Okay, so episode 9, we had touchy subjects. What was the only question where Loz was the only correct answer? So to clarify, there was a question where she was a
Most deserving
of
this, like, to win.
Yeah.
Boom! It was the first question, right? It was the first question of the touchy subjects from memory.
I believe
Or
it
one
was,
of.
yes.
Yeah. Oh, you beat me, Marcus. Well done.
But you still need to spin the wheel. We still need to see if you.
I'll spin the wheel, but he's beat me now. He's beat me no matter what. So well done. He's got the
Shout out my Lord and Savior Malcolm.
Okay, I might have made the questions too hard this week.
Yeah.
I thought this would be the toughest battle that we had.
All right, we'll just get the wheel in there no matter what.
Let's see, have some fun. Let's see, get some fun.
I removed Canberra versus the world. I'm gonna get another Warrandyte question. They're always fucking
Warrandyte. The wheel loves Warrandyte.
It does.
This was also touchy subjects.
Mm.
So for the question, who would you trust with your life? Jake was the correct answer. Who was the only person that didn't say Jake?
That's a good question.
I think, look, I don't know the answer to this, but I feel like this might feed into the greater narrative of the season and the controversial win. So let's just guess Nick.
Correct.
Yeah. He wasn't going to say his boyfriend. They were keeping it secret.
Yeah. So by a score of 4-3, congratulations, Marcus. And thank you for not making me do a tiebreaker again.
Well done,
What would have been the tiebreaker? Naming some letter again?
We might need it next week.
Give it up. It's got to save them. But thank you for coming on, Marcus. Amazing job. Well done. You can be very proud.
Had a pleasure. Thank you so much, guys. That was awesome.
Cheers. A good win
by. I love his face. What good value Marcus is.
So that's the end of the show. A long one. Thank you for sticking with us, those that have. Next week is the finale. We'll probably do a big episode without an interview, and we will then probably have the final TWIOLSH of the season. And then rolling on from there, we'll be into our post-season coverage of Backyard. We will have interviews with the final 5, a deep dive. There'll be a tea party with Annabelle and some of the most exciting contestants of the season, dishing all the hot tea and dirt. And then, of course, the ultimate result, the crowning of the ORCA, will occur with the chat with production. That will actually take the ORCA pod to 99 episodes over our last 2 and a bit years. And we'll then be doing a special event for the 100th episode. So look out for that in due course. And following that, we will recommence the rank down with 3 seasons to go. I think it's appropriate to reveal that the 3rd best season of the 11 that predated that when we started doing the rank down, so it's not Canberra versus the world of this season, is Backyard 4. So we will be continuing the Backyard coverage as we roll into our rank down of the bronze medalist Backyard 4. I'm sure we will see Josh O'Brien again in that coverage, as well as all of your favorites. So stay tuned for plenty more coming from the ORCA pod when we get into a downtime where there aren't a current season being released. But until, I guess that's all I have to say for this week. Any final words from you two?
No, I'm going to bed. We're good.
Yeah.
Right. Now you may down.